بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وهدى وتقا ورشادا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم فقهنا في الدين وعلمنا التأويل. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع، من قلب لا يخشع، ومن نفس لا تشبع، ومن دعوة لا يستجاب لها. نعوذ بك اللهم من هؤلاء الأربعة. أما بعد، فحياكم الله جميعا في الدرس الثالث في شرح مختصر النحو المفيد. And we are still in the مقدمات. We haven't yet entered the book. Inshallah, once we start the book, we're going to end it quickly, but the مقدمات are really, really important. A quick recap of what we have done in the previous durus. We had first learned about what the science of Sarf is and what it deals with, what are the things that it studies, and how it serves the Arabic language. So who can remind me that what is the job or that Nahu carries out, and what is the job that Sarf carries out, and what is the job that Al-Ma'ani or Balagha carries out, and what is the job of Al-Lugha? Just remind me quickly of Nahu, Sarf, Ma'ani, and Lugha. Okay, what does Nahu study? What does Nahu study? Let's put it this way. Nahu studies two things. 1 and 2.
Endings of the words and structure of the sentence.
Jazakallahu khairan. Structure and ending. Mumtaz. Structure of the sentence, endings of the words. Mumtaz. Sarf studies structure of the word. Ahsantum. Sarf studies structure of the word. Mumtaz. Nahu, structure of the sentence and endings of the word. Mumtaz. Tayyib. Mumtaz. Nahu and Sarf studies the structure of the word. And what does Al-Ma'ani study? The meanings of the words or the sentences? Al-Ma'ani.
Meaning of the sentences.
The meanings of the sentences. This is the job of Al-Ma'ani. Al-Ma'ani is a branch of Balagha. This studies the meanings of the sentences. So for example, what is the difference between na'buduka and iyyaka na'bud? Na'buduka, we worship you. Iyyaka na'bud, it is only you that we worship. So how does this, the meanings of the sentences is the topic of Al-Ma'ani. Likewise, when we ask rhetorical questions like, isn't it? So it's not a genuine question, like you're not really expecting an answer. So what does this really mean? This rhetorical question, what does it really mean? This also is the topic of Ilm al-Ma'ani. And Al-Lugha studies the meanings of the words and vocabulary. Mumtaz. Then we studied Al-Mizan al-Sarfi. Al-Mizan al-Sarfi. Al-Mizan al-Sarfi is a way of weighing and expressing the wazn, the pattern of a particular fi'l. And in the Mizan al-Sarfi, we replace the root letters with fa, ain, and lam. Now, if the first root letter is replaced with a fa, the second root letter is replaced with the ain, the third one with the lam. What if we have 4 root letters? What will we replace the 4th root letter with? Lam. With another lam. Mumtaz jiddan. Naam. We would replace the 4th root letter with another lam. Mumtaz. Right. So this is Al-Mizan al-Sarfi. Now, I hope that most of you, if not everyone, did the practice worksheet, because it was going to be very, very beneficial for you in terms of how to apply the Mizan al-Sarfi. Okay. Then we started the different classifications of fi'l. And we said that fi'l is classified into Madi, Mudari, and Amr. And this is in terms of the Sigha. Sigha means in terms of the pattern, in terms of the way it is said. So in the Madi, we don't have any additional letters before the root letters. We have Dama'ir attaching to it after the root letters. In al-Mudari, we have Harf al-Mudara'a at the beginning, Hamza, Noon, Yata. So in terms of Sigha, in terms of the verb form that is used for يعني the different forms of verb that are used. We have three types of verbs. We have ماضي, مضارع, and أمر. So ماضي is the past tense, مضارع the present or future tense, and أمر is the imperative. طيب, what is the principle of deriving أمر from the مضارع? How do you derive the فعل أمر from فعل مضارع? How do we derive فعل أمر from فعل مضارع? Two steps. You have to remove something and you have to end it in a particular way. Remove the علامة of جزم. No, sorry. Remove the علامة of مضارع. Perhaps you mean that remove the حرف المضارعة. حرف المضارعة is the hamza, noon, ya, or ta that is attached to the beginning of the noun of the فعل مضارع. طيب, the first step is to remove the علامة of the مضارع or the حرف المضارعة, and حرف المضارعة is the hamza, noon, or ya, or ta, like أشرب, نشرب, تشرب, يشرب. So that ما في إشكال. No problem. And what is the second step after removing the حرف المضارعة? How are we supposed to end the فعل أمر? Okay, ممتاز. Putting an علامة of جزم. So you're supposed to end it the way the فعل مضارع ends in the جزم state. So let's say if we have a فعل أمر that is, or if you're supposed to derive a فعل أمر from a فعل مضارع that is صحيح الآخر, and صحيح الآخر can be, let's say, ينصر. So how are we going to end it? أعوذ بالله. ينصر, ينصر. نعم, ينصر. So how is the فعل مضارع, فعل أمر of this فعل going to be? ينصر. انصر. أحسنت. انصر. أخونا طلحة says انصر. And he put a hamza al-wasl because the fi'l was starting with a sukun, with the sakin letter, and so we cannot pronounce it, hence we are compelled to use a hamza al-wasl. And then if we have a fi'l that is mu'tallu al-akhir, that is yamshi. Yamshi. So what is the fi'l amr of yamshi going to be?
امشي.
امشي. طيب, امشي, do you say it with a كسرة أم تريدني أن أشبع الكسرة لك فأجعلها ياء؟ امشي. أنت تريده بالكسرة يا أخي? Do you want it with a كسرة or you want it with a ياء? Because it might, يعني your answer would not, with a كسرة. ممتاز. امشي. Now, why did the brother put a kasra and he removed the ya? Why didn't he put a sukun? Because when the fi'al mudari is mu'tallu al-akhir, if you remember, that's the second type of fi'al mudari that we had learned in the third classification of fi'al. Then the alama of jazm in fi'al mudari is حذف حرف العلة. حذف حرف العلة. حذف حرف العلة means like you remove the vowel letter that is at the end of the fi'l. And here he did the same thing, and the sheen already had a kasra, so it remained the way it was. And he applied the alam of jazm by removing the harfu illah. طيب. And if we have a fi'l mudari' that is one of al-Af'aal al-khamsa, for example, you have, let me just give you a relatively difficult one. يستخرجون. You have done this fi'l this week in the assignment. استخرج يستخرج. Then what would be the fi'l mudari' of يستخرجون? نعم يا شباب. استخرجوا. طيب. قال طلحة استخرجوا. طيب, what did he do? Sorry. الله المستعان. نعم. Talha removed the harf al-mudara'a, that is the ya, and he applied the jazm, so he had to remove the noon. Now, why did he remove the noon? Why didn't he just put a sukun on the noon? Why not istakhrijun? Sorry, Allah understand. Now, why not instead of putting instead of removing the noon, he put a sukun on the noon? Because the alama of jazm in al-af'al al-khamsa is hadfun noon. The alama of jazm in al-af'al al-khamsa is hadfun noon, and hence he had to remove the noon in order to apply the jazm to the fi'l amr. So this is how the fi'l amr is derived. Mumtaz. The second classification of fi'l was fi'l. A fi'l can be divided into mabni lil-ma'lum and mabni lil-majhul, or al-fi'l al-ma'lum or al-fi'l al-majhul, or al-fi'l al-mabni lil-fa'il wal-fi'l al-mabni lil-maf'ul. It's got a lot of names. It has got a lot of names. طيب. In al-fi'l al-mabni lil-ma'lum wal-mabni lil-majhul. Now, first of all, what are these things? What is fi'l mabni al-ma'lum? In one word, how do we describe it in English? It is in what case?
Active case.
Active case. And mabni al-ma'lum is in مبني المجهول. سامحني مبني المجهول. نعم, is passive case. ممتاز. Active and passive. ممتاز. طيب. Now you have, for example, in English, Zaid opened the door. The door was opened. Now open is the fi'l that was used in both the sentences. In the first sentence, opened was the word that was performed by Zaid. And in the second sentence, opened was being attributed to the door. The door was opened, and there was no mention of the fa'il, the doer. Likewise, in Arabic, we have fi'l that is, for example, فَتَحَ زَيْدٌ الْبَابَ. هنا فَتَحَ is being attributed to Zayd, and then if you say فُتِحَ الْبَابُ, the door has been opened, the fi'l is being attributed to the door. Now, how to convert a fi'l ماضي into fi'l ماضي that is مبني للمعلوم? How to make it into فعل ماضي مبني للمجهول. The قاعدة أصلية, the first قاعدة is the default قاعدة is, I know there are some exceptions in some other word patterns, but the general قاعدة is that you are supposed to make the first letter, or what is the حركة that you're supposed to put on the first, ضم on the first letter, ممتاز, and on the second last letter in the ماضي you put a second last كسرة. ممتاز. طيب. When it comes to the مضارع, on the first letter you put a ضمة, and on the second last letter you put a فتحة. Now the only exceptions are when it comes to the ماضي of patterns such as انكسر and اجتمع, and patterns such as تكلم and تقاتل. In these cases, when it comes to the af'al that start with the hamzat al-wasl, which are like inkasara and ijtama'a, then you have to put a dhamma on two letters. You have to put a dhamma on the first letter, that is the hamzat al-wasl, and on the third one as well. And then the rest remains the same way. Likewise, in ijtama'a, you were supposed to put a dhamma here, and on the third letter as well, you were supposed to say ujtumi'a. And likewise, when it comes to patterns such as takallama, tafa'ala, and when it comes to patterns such as taqatala, tafa'ala, then the case is similar on the first letter and on the second letter. On the second letter as well. And the rest remains the same, that you have to put this kasra on the second last letter, and likewise taqatala, you have to put a dhamma on the first letter and on the second letter, and this dhamma forces us to replace the alif with a waw, so it becomes tuqutila. Now this is the only exception to the madi. As for mudari, it doesn't have any exceptions. So we have unkusira, ujtumi'a, tukullima, tuqutila. That's it. So I think this would be easy to remember. It wouldn't be difficult, inshallah. As for the mudari, it's very easy. تقاتل يعني يتقاتل يتقاتل. يتكلم يتكلم. ينكسر ينكسر. يجتمع يجتمع. So that is easy, inshallah. The principle remains intact and it's not يعني broken. But here you have to break the principle a little bit in the sense that you have to put a dhamma on another letter in addition to the first one. So in case of inkasara in ijtama'a on the first and the third letter, in case of takallama and taqatala on the first and second letter. طيب ممتاز. Now الآن we are going to move on to the third classification of فعل, that is انقسام الفعل إلى المتعدي واللازم. إلى المتعدي واللازم. What is this classification based on? طبعا whenever you make a classification or a taqsim, يعني let's just use the Arabic terms. Whenever you make a taqsim, you make the taqsim based on something. يعني you don't just make taqsims for fun. You make taqsim because it would be useful to you. So now we reiterated this point a number of times before as well. Like in Nahu, you divided the fi'l into Madi, Mudari, Amr, then you divide it into Mabni, Ma'lum, Mabni, Majhul, and then you divide it into the fi'l Mudari into three types, because those classifications we were in need of in the science of Nahu. So for example, Madi, Mudari, and Amr, you know where to put the fa'il, maf'ul, what sort of a fa'il you need to put, what sort of dhamir you need to put in Madi, Mudari, and Amr. When it comes to Mabni al-Ma'lum, Mabni al-Majhul, you would know that is the marfu' after it going to be fa'il, or is it going to be na'ib al-fa'il? All of these classifications, we needed them in the science of Nahu. Likewise, but the classifications that were related to some other sciences, we could have said the af'al that start with the letter fa, the words that start with the letter kaf. Like, what sort of a classification is this? You're just making different classifications for fun. This is not going to benefit us in the science of Nahu. So we only indulge in the need maf'ul, the transitive and transitive. Okay, Jazakallah khair, try to answer the question. Sahih. So you make classifications in every science in accordance to your need. So here, يا إخوان and يا أخوات, in Sarf, we need this classification, that is انقسام الفعل إلى متعدي ولازم. Why do we need it? We need it because we should know whether this fi'l would have a direct maf'ul bihi, or it needs to be used with a harf jar. And if it needs to be used with a harf jar, then what sort of a harf jar is it used with? All of these matters are important, and these are related to the science of as-sarf. These are related to the science of as-sarf. طيب. Or this is where we study them, even though they might not be directly related to the structure of the word. But these are things that are details, fine details pertaining to the word. So we are really getting diving deep into the word in the science of sarf. طيب. So what is al-muta'addi? What is al-lazim? Muta'addi simply means transitive, and lazim simply means intransitive. طيب, what is transitive, intransitive? When a fi'l has an object, when a fi'l is being applied to an object, it's muta'addi. And when the fi'l is not being applied to an object, it's lazim or intransitive. So for example, if we give an example in English, مثلا Zayd, it's an example we're taking from Arabic. No, خلاص. Zayd kicked the ball. Zayd kicked the ball. Let me just type it. Now Zayd kicked the ball. Does this sentence have a subject and an object? طبعا it's a verbal sentence. It must have a subject, a fa'il, a doer. Who is the doer of kick or kicked? It's Zayd. Right. And what is the object in the sentence? The ball. Mumtaz. Now this fi'l, this verb had an object. If this verb has an object, then is it transitive or is it intransitive? Is it muta'addi or lazim? Hi Shabab. Because it has an object, it's muta'addi. طيب. Now, let's say Zaid woke up. طيب. Now this is a verbal sentence. It has a verb, and the doer of that verb is Zaid. But does this fi'l that is waking up, this verb, does it have any object? Does it have any maf'ul bihi? Is it applying on something? No. So it is lazim or muta'addi? It's lazim. Khalas. This is the difference between muta'addi and lazim. When it has an object, it's muta'addi. When it doesn't have an object, it's lazim. طيب. There is another type of fi'l. And first, let me give you an example in English, then we'll move on to the Arabic. It is a fi'l that does have an object. But in order to apply itself on that object, it needs help of a preposition. Now, Zaid, for example, sat on the chair. Right. Now, Zaid, the verb here is sit, sat, sit, right? So the doer of this verb is Zaid. Does this verb have an object that it is applying to? Yes, it does. And that is the chair. Mumtaz. That is the chair. Al-an, is the verb sat or sit applying directly to the chair, or it needs the help of a preposition that is on? It needs the help of a preposition that is on, right? So these are the three different types of af'al that we have. The first one, in which it has an object and it does not need help of a preposition, it is called muta'addi. The second and third ones, which either don't have an object, or if it does have an object, it is in need of a fi'l, it is in need of a harf jar or a preposition. These are called lazim in Arabic, in stuff. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. I'm not sure in English whether this sat will be called transitive or intransitive. I'm not sure about this, but in Arabic, this is called lazim. This would be called lazim. طيب. Third category is part of lazim. Third category is part of lazim. So lazim is the one that does not have a maf'ul bihi at all, or it does have a maf'ul bihi, but it needs help of a preposition. So if we technically in nahu, technically chair would not be maf'ul bihi. It would be majroor, ism majroor, right? Zaydun jalasa ala al-kursi, ala al-kursi ala harf jar, and al-kursi ism majroor. But if you look at it in reality, it's the object on which the fi'l is applying, and which is why some of the nahwiyin would put it this way. Like if you say jalasa, if you say it in Arabic, jalasa Zaydun ala al-kursi, some of the nahwiyin would first do the i'rab of ala and would say this is harf jar mabni ala as-sukun la mahalla lahu min al-i'rab, al-kursi ism majroor alamatu jarrihi al-kasra ظاهر على آخره, and then they would put it in this way. This whole على الكرسي, they would say والجار والمجرور في محل نصب مفعول به. Some would put it in this way. And some would put it in a simpler way. They would say والجار والمجرور. They would just say والجار والمجرور لحظة. They would say والجار والمجرور متعلق بجلسة. So they have different ways of putting it. Some would call على الكرسي مفعول به. Some would just say, if they wouldn't call it مفعول به, they wouldn't call it ظرف, they wouldn't call it حال, صفة, nothing. They would just say it's related to جلسة. What relation does it have? The relation it has is مفعول به, but they don't mention the relation to make things simpler for the one who is doing the i'rab. So some nahwiyin go into more specific details and they actually tell you what relation the jar majroor has with the fi'l, and some just say it is related to the fi'l. So sometimes the jar majroor can be مفعول فيه. مثلا زيد أكل في الصباح. زيد أكل في الصباح. زيد أكل في الصباح means that Zaid has eaten in the morning. في الصباح, if we go into specific details, would be جار مجرور في محل نصب ظرف زمان, right? And others would simply put it as جار مجرور متعلق بأكل. Now here a brother is asking, I see in dictionaries متعدي بحرف. What does this mean? It means the third category. The one that we are calling lazim, this is the one being referred to as متعدي بحرف. يعني now it becomes يعني, but when it uses the harf jar, it becomes متعدي, right? In the sense that it has a مفعول به, right? But if you just يعني, keep it simple, this is part of lazim. This is part of lazim. So some put it as متعدي بحرف. Likewise, I think even in the kitab شذ العرف في فن الصرف, they have put it يعني, they say that the fi'l would become متعدي when it uses a harf, so they call it متعدي. And when they come to defining the muta'addi, and when they come to defining the lazim, they would just say it's the one that does not make its maf'ul bihi mansoob. But inshallah, we'll come to that and we'll talk about and discuss this all in detail. But muta'addi biharf is referring to the third category. طيب. طيب. Mubarak, did you mean to correct me here in some way, or are you asking a question? If there's something that you want to correct me in, please يعني, go ahead, it's fine. If I'm making some sort of a mistake in the taqreer of these masail, you can please correct me. Feel free. Jazakallah khair. Barakallah fik. It's absolutely fine. You can correct me as well. Absolutely fine. And sometimes some of the students might be more knowledgeable, so it's absolutely fine. Jazakumullah khair. طيب. Now أحمد موجود يا أحمد؟ موجود. يلا اقرأ. ما في إشكال.
Not so stable, so I can't.
ما في إشكال. أحد آخر يريد أن يقرأ? Anyone else would volunteer to read? طيب. ما في أحد. But people have also issues with their connections. لا بأس إن شاء الله. طيب I'll read myself. طيب يلا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. انقسام الفعل إلى المتعدي واللازم. الفعل من حيث تعامله مع مفعوله قسمان. يعني the فعل in terms of the relation, the way it treats its مفعول, the way or the sort of relation it has with its مفعول, it is of two types. The first one is المتعدي. طبعا المتعدي, what does it really mean? متعدي actually means something that crosses. So why do we call it متعدي? Because it crosses the fa'il and affects the مفعول به. It crosses the, يعني it does not just affect the fa'il and makes it marfu', rather it also affects the مفعول به. That's why it's called متعدي. يعني what is the concept behind naming it متعدي? متعدي طبعا means يا إخوان, متعدي means something that crosses over. And why is it called so, or why is it named متعدي? Because it passes over and crosses the fa'il, and affects and applies to the مفعول به. Whereas the lazim does not cross its fa'il and does not have an effect on the مفعول به. طيب. Okay. So المتعدي وهو الذي يقع على المفعول به بنفسه فينصبه. It is the one that applies to the object by itself and hence makes it mansoob. وضابطه, ضابط means the principle of knowing something, or ضابط means the maxim or the principle. يعني ضابطه, the principle of knowing whether or judging whether a fi'l is متعدي or lazim is by looking at something. What do you look at? you look at the possibility of a mansoob damir attaching to it. Can a mansoob damir attach to the fi'l directly, or it cannot? If it can, then it's a fi'l muta'addi. What do we mean by this? When we mention the examples, inshallah it will become clear. بإذن الله تعالى. اتصال الضمير المنصوب به العائد على المفعول به. The ضمير, and the ضمير must be referring to the object. So for example, if you have ضرب زيد عمرا, right? Now ضرب, can we say ضربه يعني زيد ضربه? We can say ضربه, right? And he hit him, ضربه. But can I say, when I say that جلس محمد على الكرسي, can I say جلسه, referring to Muhammad sitting on the chair? Can I say جلسه? Hi إخوان, I cannot say جلسه. I have to say جلس عليه. I have to say جلس عليه. When the ضمير is referring to the object, I cannot say جلس محمد على الكرسي جلسه. I have to say جلس محمد عليه. جلس محمد عليه. But when it comes to ضرب, I can say ضرب زيد عمرا, and I can say ضربه. ضربه يعني زيد hit عمر. فتح, I put a tanween here by mistake, so you can inshallah later on remove it. فتح محمد الباب. فتح محمد الباب. Muhammad opened the door. Can I say فتحه محمد? Can I say فتحه محمد يعني الباب؟ فتحه محمد؟ No, فتح, see, فتح محمد الباب وفتحه. ما في إشكال. I can say فتحه يعني he opened the door. فتحه. But when it comes to something like مثلا مثلا what else do we have? مثلا قام. If I say قام محمد, Muhammad stood up على الطاولة. He stood up on the table. He stood on the table. قام محمد على الطاولة. Can I say محمد قام الطاولة or قامها? Can I attach الضمير directly? I cannot attach الضمير directly because it doesn't sound correct. Why doesn't it sound correct? Because the fi'l is lazim. So I must use a preposition along with it. So I would say قام عليها. على الطاولة يعني قام عليها. طيب. So here ضرب زيد عمرا. If we are not mentioning Amr, we can easily say ضربه زيد. ضربه زيد. He hit him. But if we are talking about for example, جلس or قعد, then I can, when I would say جلس زيد على الكرسي, I cannot say جلسه زيد. I have to say جلس عليه زيد. Zayd sit on it. On it. So whenever I need a preposition, and as long as I don't need a preposition and there is an object, خلاص the fi'l is متعدي. كذلك يا إخوان نصر الله المسلمين. نصر الله المسلمين ونصرهم. I can say نصرهم. طيب. إذن هذا متعدي. إذن, and this means this is متعدي. So this is the علامة of متعدي they mention in the books. But يعني to make it simple يا إخوان, to make it simple, as long as the fi'l has an object and it is applying on an object without the help of a preposition, it is a fi'l muta'addi. As long as it is applying on an object and it does not need help of a harf jar, it is muta'addi. Making things simple. As long as the fi'l has an object, it does not need the help of harf jar to apply on that مفعول به, خلاص. إذن هذا الفعل متعد. This fi'l is متعدي. Okay. What is لازم then? لازم يا إخوان is also called al-qasr. لازم and qasr. Qasr means like something that is deficient. It does not have the full ability, or it's not it's not capable of doing what other af'al are. So lazim is also known as qasr. Why is it known as qasr? Because it cannot apply directly to a maf'ul bihi. And lazim, why is it named lazim? Because it remains within itself. It remains within itself. طيب. وهو الذي. لا مفعول به له, it does not have any مفعول به, or it might have some مفعول لكن لا يقع عليه بنفسه, but it does not apply on it, it does not apply to it by itself. Rather بل بواسطة حرف جر, rather through the help of a حرف جر. طيب, وضابطه عدم إمكان اتصال الضمير المنصوب به. يعني similar to what we mentioned before, that here the مفعول به's ضمير would not attach to it. But this ضابط is for people who have learned Arabic previously, or who listen to Arabic and they're just learning the Arabic grammar. This is helpful for those people. For people who have a very poor vocabulary, like most of the students might be, because they haven't had previous, they don't have any previous learning of Arabic, who don't have as good a vocabulary as an Arab. So this ضابط would not be very helpful for him. So because by attaching a ضمير, he or she cannot judge whether it's sounding correct or it's not sounding correct. So just put it simple. Let's put it in a simpler manner. And لازم is the فعل that does not have a مفعول به, or if it has a مفعول به, it requires a حرف جر. It requires the help of a حرف جر to apply to it. Now we have a couple of or three examples here. For example, if I say سقط زيد, Zayd fell down. سقط زيد. Now سقط زيد, is there any مفعول به here يا إخوان؟ سقط زيد. No. And do we need any مفعول به for سقط زيد? Is the sentence incomplete if we don't have a مفعول به?
It's complete.
It's complete. أحسنتم. We do not need any مفعول به for the sentence to make sense. But if I say ضرب زيد, now the question arises that what or who did he hit? Now the sentence wouldn't make complete sense until I mention the مفعول به. طيب. واستيقظ محمد. استيقظ محمد. What is the meaning of استيقظ محمد? This is an easy one. Muhammad woke up. To wake up. أحسنتم. Muhammad woke up. طيب. استيقظ محمد. Does it have a مفعول به? No. Does it need a مفعول به to make sense? It doesn't. إذن هذا فعل لازم. طيب. Now let's come to جلس أحمد على الكرسي. جلس أحمد على الكرسي. طيب. الآن جلس أحمد على الكرسي. Now in this sentence there is something on which the فعل is applying. There is something on which the فعل is being applied. And that is the kursi. But the فعل is needing a حرف جر in order to be applied on that object, or on that thing. And hence this tells us that جلس also is a فعل لازم, or is it متعدي? لازم لأنه احتاج إلى حرف جر ليتعدى, because it needed a حرف جر in order to become متعدي, in order to apply on the مفعول به, apply on the object. So if it needs a حرف جر, then جلس in its essence is a فعل لازم. It's a فعل لازم in its essence, and when it needs a حرف جر to become متعدي and have a مفعول به. So is متعدي بحرف, is متعدي بحرف? نعم, it became متعدي when it used the حرف. now by متعدي, now here by متعدي we mean when you say متعدي بحرف that it is applying to something now. But remember, it is still would not be considered this. Jalasa does not become part of this when it uses harf jar, because this متعدي, when we say متعدي, we mean that it must cause the object to become mansub. This one does not cause the object to become mansub. So here when we say it's متعدي بحرف, or when the brother said متعدي بحرف, this means that it is applying on the object. It has some object that it applies to or on. But it does not become متعدي. متعدي's ضابط is that it must make its مفعول به منصوب. Its مفعول must be منصوب. This is a فعل لازم. This is a فعل لازم. When someone refers to it as متعدي, they refer to it in the sense that it now has an object, or it يعني is applying to some object. This is the sense in which they refer to it as متعدي. So we'll keep things simple here. متعدي is the one which has an object and its object is mansub. Lazim is the one that does not have an object, or it might have an object but it needs a harf jar, the help of a harf jar to apply on that object. Is this واضح inshallah? Yeah, it will be called lazim. It is lazim, and it might be called mutaaddi biharf in a particular context, but let's just leave this for now. Why? Because this might cause confusion for the someone would confuse it with the mutaaddi and would lose the judgment when something becomes mutaaddi, or when the fi'l is lazim, and when the harf jar is being used, is it mutaaddi or is it lazim? Someone might lose the plot here. That's why I'm just avoiding using the term mutaaddi here. Let's just call it lazim. So inshallah, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, this is clear inshallah, right? متعدي لازم. الحمد لله. إذن ننتقل إلى التقسيم الرابع, and that is the تقسيم or انقسام الفعل إلى الصحيح والمعتل. إلى الصحيح والمعتل. Now this تقسيم, like we said, every تقسيم, every classification is based on something. It's based on some basis. It has some basis for it. So this classification is based on whether the root letters of a fi'l have a harf illah in them or they don't. If none of the root letters of a fi'l is a harf illah, then it is sahih. If one or more of the root letters of a fi'l is a harf illah, then it is mu'tal. Sahih means the one who is healthy, does not contain any illah. Mu'tal means the one who has some sort of an illah. And illah في اللغة illah refers to disease. So mu'tal is the diseased one, and sahih is the one, sahih, صحة refers to the health, right? صحة, it is healthy, it is sahih, it means it's healthy and it's free of any disease. طيب. So how many types of diseases do we have? We have 3 types of diseases, or waw letters, or huruf al-illah. What are the 3 types of, or 3 huruf al-illah? Who can tell us the 3 huruf al-illah? Alif, waw, and ya. Mumtaz. Alif, waw, and ya are the huruf al-illah. So if one of, okay, before we make this point, remember that alif cannot be one of the huruf asliya. Alif is never one of the huruf asliya. Let me just write it in a very, very big font, that alif cannot be one of the root letters. So if we see an alif in the fi'l madi, this must be waw or ya in reality. Alif cannot be one of the root letters. Never, ever. Alif is never one of the root letters of a fi'l. So if there is an alif in the fi'l madi, it must be waw or ya in reality. It must be waw or ya in reality. Is this point clear inshallah? Remember this point. Alif cannot be one of the root letters. Abadan. If it seems to be one of the root letters, for example, in, let's say, qama or qala, you're saying qaf, alif, lam. It must be the 3 root letters are qaf, alif, lam. Khata. If alif is there in the fi'l madi, it must be waw or ya in reality. So you have to look at the other forms of this word. Look at the mudari'. You say qala, yaqulu. Idhan, the root letters are qaf, waw, and lam. Sara. What is the mudari' of sara? Sara. Sara, to end up in a particular way or to become something. Yasiru. Okay, so Sara, the Sad, Alif, Ra, this Alif was actually a Ya. This Alif was actually a Ya. Why did it become an Alif, and why didn't we retain the ya. This inshallah we'll be discussing in the qawa'id sarfiyya that will come inshallah in the upcoming durus. So alif cannot be one of the root letters, and it must be waw or ya in reality. Right. Now, when we say that alif, waw, and ya, لحظة. What was I saying? من حيث وجود. I asked you that what are the huruf illa? They are alif, waw, and ya. And طيب. I forgot, subhanallah, what I was trying to say here. على كل حال. So الفعل انقسام الفعل إلى الصحيح والمعتل. الفعل من حيث وجود حرف علة في الأحرف الأصلية قسمان. And in terms of the vowel letters being one of its root letters, it is of two types. The first type is sahih. Sahih means it does not have any root letter, any vowel letter in its root letters. So, يعني مثلا وهو الذي لا يوجد في أحرفه الأصلية حرف علة. It's the one in which none of the root letters is waw or ya. In which none of the root letters is waw or ya. مثلا نصر وكتب وذهب وقرأ ومد. I mentioned a few أفعال here. نصر ينصر. نصر, what are the root letters of نصر? Very easy. نون صاد and را. Is any one of these three letters waw or ya? No. Hence it is a sahih. It's a fi'l that is sahih. كتب. None of the root letters are waw or ya. It's sahih. ذهب. None of the root letters are waw or ya. Sahih. قرأ. To read. قرأ. None of the root letters are waw or ya. Hence it's sahih. مد, which means to extend. What are the root letters of مد? What are the root letters of مد?
ميم.
نعم, ميم and ميم, دال and دال. We have two dals here. أحسنتم. ميم, dal and dal. So we have two dals here. So the root letters are mim, dal and dal, and none of the three root letters is a harf illa. Hence it is also a fi'l sahih. A fi'l sahih can be of three types. Okay, why do we keep making different types? Why do we just keep dividing things into different classifications if it's becoming annoying? La, ya ikhwan, we do it because these classifications have, or these fine and slight differences that there are in a particular fi'l, these do matter in the science of sarf. So when it comes to mahmuz, the fi'l that is mahmuz, it behaves in a particular way that is different from the other af'al. When it comes to muda'af, it behaves in a particular way that is different to other af'al. When it comes to salim, it behaves in a particular way. When it comes to the different types of fi'al mu'tal, they behave in different ways, and hence we have to make this classification. Right. So that it's easy for us to refer to these types of af'al. Like if we don't give mahmuz a name, then you will have to say a long sentence. If it is a fi'l that in which one of the root letters is hamza, and then you would make a reference to it. Yeah, ikhwan. And instead of just saying this whole sentence, you can refer to it by simply saying mahmuz. طيب. وهو ثلاثة أنواع. مهموز وهو الذي أحد أحرفه الأصلية همزة. One of the root letters is hamza. One of the root letters in mahmuz is hamza. طيب. Before I okay, for those who haven't read the examples, can you give me some example of a fi'l that in which one of the root letters is hamza?
قرأ.
قرأ. طيب, what else? قرأ. What does it mean to how do you say to ask a question in Arabic?
سأل.
سأل. أحسنت. طيب. What else do we have? To take something from someone.
أخذ.
أخذ. أحسنتم. What else do we have?
أكل.
أكل. Oh, to eat. ممتاز. That was an easy one. جزاك الله خير. What else do we have? سأل. طيب, what does it become? What is it? How do you say when someone becomes when someone is cured from a disease? This is a difficult one. It starts with ba. Bara'a. Bara'a. Bara'a means to get cured from a disease, and bari'a means to dissociate yourself. Subhanallah, if slight change in harakas has, it brings a great difference in the meaning. Bara'a, to become cured from a disease. Bari'a yabra'u, to dissociate from yourself from something. Likewise, you mentioned before, these changes in harakat sometimes. Labasa yalbisu means to mix things together, and labisa yalbasu means to wear something. Likewise, there is a difference in, this one is a very worthy one. Qadara has three variations. It can be qadara yaqduru, it can be qadara yaqdiru, and it can be qadira yaqdaru. When it is qadara yaqduru, it means to do the hisab of something, to calculate something, calculate it and decree it, or qadara, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to the fi'l of calculating as calculating and decreeing as qadara yaqduru. When it is qadara yaqdiru, it refers to making something narrow and making it ضيق قدر يقدر ضيق يضيق, to make something what is the right word for ضيق يا إخوان? Can anyone tell me the right translation for ضيق?
Narrow.
Make it narrow, or what else do we have? يقول الله عز وجل هنا وذنون إذ ذهب مغاضبا فظن أن لن نقدر عليه. How did they translate it? They translated to restrain. Sorry, again, sir? Again, yeah, Sheikh?
No, I was saying cramp,
cramp, to cramp, or constrain, or restrain. ممتاز. And when it is قدر يقدر, it is from the قدرة. أنا لا أقدر, I am not able to do this. قدر يقدر. So قدر يقدر, to calculate. قدر يقدر, to restrain. And قدر, قدر يقدر, it is to when you are when it refers to the qudra and ability. Likewise, قدم يقدم and قدم يقدم. قدم يقدم means to precede someone. فرعون, it said about him يقدم قومه يوم القيامة فأوردهم يقدم قومه يوم القيامة فأوردهم النار بئس الورد المورود وبئس الورد المورود. يقدم قومه يوم القيامة. يقدم he will precede them and he will lead them. And that is قدم يقدم. This inshallah we'll do in the fifth classification. قدم يقدم refers to arriving. قدم فلان من المدينة, he arrived from Medina, he came from Medina. So subhanallah, slight changes in haraka and the different bab that they belong to, it will it means a great change in the meaning. على كل حال, coming back, and this has a very, you benefit from this in the hadith. For example, the hadith of Ramadan, that if فإن غم عليكم فاقدروا له. Now the hadith says in Sha'ban, if صوموا لرؤيته وأفطروا لرؤيته, and whenever you when you start Ramadan, you have to look at the moon, right? And فإن غم عليكم, and if there is غيم or غمام, if it's cloudy above and you cannot witness or see the hilal, then فقدروا له. فقدروا له means, now which bab is this? Is this the قدر يقدر, which means to calculate, or is it the فقدروا? If because it's فقدروا, it refers to completing it. فقدروا له, to calculate or to complete it. And if it had been فقدروا, this would have meant to restrain it and make it يعني ضيق فقدروا له. So this would refer to something else. So يعني this is why there is a difference of opinion amongst the scholars. Some يعني the Hanabila, they say فقدروا له, that you're not supposed to fast the 30th day of Sha'ban. Astaghfirullah. You're not supposed to complete the Sha'ban, and you're not supposed to make it 30 days. Rather, you're supposed to fast on the 30th day of Sha'ban, because فَقْدِرُوا لَهُ means ضَيِّقُوا, and this hadith would mean that make the Sha'ban, the month of Sha'ban يعني shorter. Make the month of Sha'ban shorter, and hence يعني limit it to 29 days. And when you read the hadith as فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ, then this would mean that you are supposed to complete the 30 days. So subhanallah, now there is a difference of opinion because of one haraka. And the sahih in this issue, wallahu alam, is that we're supposed to complete the 30 days of Sha'ban and then fast after that, because there and some other riwayat, which is also sahih and which is not shadh, it's corroborated with other reports. It says فأكملوا عدة شعبان 30. فأكملوا عدة شعبان 30. Then يعني fulfill or يعني complete the Sha'ban, or the number of Sha'ban days, which are 30. So this is the sahih with regards to this mas'ala. Al-Muhim, يعني we went too far away. على كل حال. The second one is, so we have some examples of a fi'l that is mahmuz, sahih, but mahmuz. It's sahih, it does not have any harf illah, but one of his huruf asliya is the hamza. So akhadha, sa'ala, qara'a. Make these standard examples. Muda'af is the one وهو الذي عينه ولامه من جنس واحد. Now what do we mean by عينه? What is عين الفعل and what is لام الفعل? What is عين الفعل and what is لام الفعل?
The ayn and lam from fa'ala.
Ahsan. So when we say, for example, nasara, in nasara, what letter is the عين الفعل and what letter is the لام الفعل?
Sad and ra.
Ahsan. So this is a term that we use in Sarf. When we say that this is the ayn of the fi'l, we mean by this the second root letter. Lamul fi'l, the third root letter. Fa'ul fi'l, the first root letter. Instead of saying al-harf al-asli al-awwal, al-harf al-asli al-thani, al-harf al-asli al-thalith, 3 letters. لا 3 words. ما نحتاج. We say fa'ul fi'l, aynul fi'l, lamul fi'l. That's it. Fa refers to the first root letter, ayn refers to the second root letter, and lam refers to the third root letter. وهو الذي عينه ولامه من جنس واحد. يعني it's the same there. The ayn and lam are of the same type of letter. That is, يعني they are the same letter. So we have 3 examples: صب, batta, and madda. صب, batta, and madda. طبعا صب means to pour, batta means to cut something, and madda means to extend. صب, batta, madda. We have lots of examples, طبعا, but here we mentioned 3. So in each of these cases, what are the root letters of sabba? Sad, ba, and
ba.
Ahsan. Sad, ba, and ba. What are the root letters of batta?
Ba, ta, and ta.
Ahsan. Ba, ta, and ta. And what are the root letters of madda?
Mim, dal, and
Mim, dal, and
dal.
Ahsan. Mim, dal, and dal. So you can notice here the second and third root letters are the same. Ba and ba, ta and ta, and dal and dal. So this is a muda'af. With regards, okay, can we have a muda'af in which the first and second root letters are the same? No, we cannot have a muda'af like this. Wallahu a'lam. Or it wouldn't be a muda'af because it's not merged into one another. For example, here, ya ikhwan, when it comes to sabba, instead of saying sababa and batata and madada, you say madda, sabba, batta. So what do? You apply idgham. Idgham is to merge one letter into another. So you apply here idgham. Okay, when are you supposed to apply idgham and when you're not supposed to apply idgham? Inshallah, we'll shed some light on it at the end of the dars, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. But first, we need to finish this classification. Salim. What is Salim? Salim is that sahih fi'l, which is neither mahmuzan nor muda'af. Which means, وهو الفعل الصحيح الذي ليس مهموزا ولا مضاعفا. يعني it does not have any harf illah, it does not have a hamza, and it's not muda'af. Such a verb is called salim. Salim is the verb in which the huruf asliya, the root letters, do not contain any harf illah, do not contain a hamza, and do not contain, or their second and third root letters are not the same. So it's neither mu'tal nor is it mahmuz nor is it muda'af. This is the one that is salim. Like nasara, kataba, hasara. Hasara means to to restrain and something into or restricted to something. Or hasara also means to count something. Hasara, to restrict something to restrict something to some limit or to count it. طيب. Mu'tal. The second type of fi'l is mu'tal. Mu'tal is the one in which one of the huruf asliya, one of the root letters, is harf illah. Simple. For example, wa'ada, qala, masha. In wa'ada, what is the root letter that is harf illah? وعد واو. طيب واو عند دال and واو is a حرف علة. طيب قال, what are the root letters of قال?
Qaf, Waw, and Lam.
ممتاز. So where is the حرف علة? The واو. How did Talha know that it's قاف واو لام? Because he looked at قول, he looked at يقول, he looked at أقوال, different forms of that same asl. He looked at it and he, discovered that it's wow. Masha. What are the root letters of masha? Mim, sheen, and ya. Mumtaz. Mim, sheen, and ya. Because alif can never be, whether it's alif makhsura or, طبعا it's always alif makhsura at the end of the fi'l, but it can never be a harf asli. So the sister says mim, sheen, and ya. طيب, but how did she know it's mim, sheen, and ya? Because she looked at its mudari'. Masha yamshi, mashyan. طيب, إذن this seems that it's the ya, that is the root letter in place of the alif. The mu'tal is of 4 types. Easy to make 4 types. If the first root letter is harf illah, then it's called mithal. وهو الذي فاؤه حرف علة. فاؤه يعني فاء الفعل. فاء الفعل means the first root letter is حرف علة. Like وعد, يئس, وكل. وعد means to promise something. يئس means to despair, and وكل means to entrust something with someone or just وكل يكل إليه. وكل إليه يكل إليه to يعني يفوض أمره إليه to سبحان الله, I'm not getting the English word for this. على كل حال وكلا, look into المعاني, ما في مشكلة. طيب. And then we have, if the second root letter is a حرف علة, then it's called أجوف. First one is difficult to memorize, مثال, but أجوف is easy. جوف means the inside of something. جوف means the inside of something. So, like for example, we are ajwaf from inside, because from inside we are hollow. So we have jawf. So the inside of humans is called jawf. Now ajwaf is easy to remember because the harf asli in the middle. The second one is the harf illah. So this is easy to remember. So ajwaf is the one in which the second root letter, which is the ayn al-fi'l, it is a harf illah. For example, qala, sara, and qama. Okay, what are the root letters of sara? What are the 3 root letters of sara?
Sad, Ya, and Ra.
Sad, Ya, and Ra. Why? Because Talha looked at the mudari', so he saw that Sara yasiru instead of yasuru. And also he looked at the اسم مكان in the Quran, so he said وإلى الله المصير instead of وإلى الله المصور, right? المصير, مصير يعني إذن it's حروف أصلية are صاد يا إن را. What are the حروف أصلية of قام? قام, the 3 root letters of قام.
Qaf, Waw, and Mim.
قاف أو ميم, ممتاز. قام يقوم, ممتاز. So يقوم, this tells us that it's واو instead of yeah. ناقص is the one in which the 3rd root letter is a حرف علة. For example, يعني the lam of the فعل is حرف علة. For example, مشى and على and بنى. طيب, مشى, what are the root letters in مشى? ميم شين يا. Oh, sorry, we did that. What are the root letters in على? على. على. إن فرعون علا في الأرض. عين لام واو, ممتاز. Why did you choose واو? Because number one, they looked at the فعل مضارع and they found that it's يعلو because of previous knowledge that they had. على يعلو. And the second most important alama is that the alif was not written on the ya, unlike in masha and bana. So when the harf asli behind alif is a waw, then you write a standing alif instead of one that is written on the ya. And when its background harf or the original harf behind it is a ya, then you write it on a ya. So this would make bana easy. What are the huruf asliya of bana? Bana, to build. Ala, to become elevated. نعم. Again, ya Talha, ba, noon and ya. ممتاز. ba, noon and ya. طيب, how do we know ba, noon and ya? By looking at the mudari, bana yabni, and also by looking at the fi'l, how it is written. Because it is written with an alif on the ya, this means that it is originally a ya. طيب. And finally, we have lafif. So the only possibility that we were left with was it's lafif. That it has 2 huruf illa now. Now, if there are 2 huruf illa, there are 2 possibilities that we have. That the 2nd and 3rd root letters are huruf illa, or the 1st and 3rd letters are huruf illa. It is not possible that the 1st and 2nd letters both are huruf illa. So there is no fi'l like this. So there are only 2 possibilities, that the 2nd and 3rd root letters are huruf illa, or the 1st and 3rd root letters are huruf illa. This such a fi'l in which two of the root letters are huruf illa is called lafif. Lafif. And if the 2nd and 3rd root letters are harf illa, then it's called lafif maqroon. And maqroon is derived from qarana. Qarana means to connect something. So maqroon, it is connected. It is connected. And lafif mafruq. Mafruq means that is divided, that has been الله المستعان. الإنجليزية راحت. Separated. That's the word. أحسنتم. جزاكم الله خير. لفيف مفروق is when the 2 حروف علة are separated. So they are the 1st and 3rd حروف العلة. لفيف مقرون and لفيف مفروق. لفيف مقرون, for example, حوا, كوا, هوية, and روية. What does it mean, حوا? حوا, to include or encompass. Kawa, to iron something. Kawa yakwi, when you iron something. It also refers to, in olden times, the process of cauterization. Al-kay, when someone is wounded and they heat an iron rod or a metal and they put it on the wound in order to stop the bleeding. This also was called kawa yakwi. And hawiya yahwa, to desire something. And hawiya yahwa is different to hawa yahwi. See, same huruf asliya, but different meanings with the change in haraka. لحظة. نعم. هوي يهوى to desire something, and hawa yahwi means to drive something away, يعني with the wind. هوي هوا يهوي to يعني to sweep something, يعني to be swept by the wind. Allahu a'lam. روية يروى. It means to quench your thirst, that your thirst is quenched. So روية يروى, that your thirst is now quenched. روى يروي, to narrate a story. So subhanallah, change in haraka, causes a change in meaning. And then we have lafif mafruq, in which the two huruf illa are separated. It's the first and third one, which are wa'a. For example, wa'a, where are the huruf illa? The first one and the third one. Wa'a ya'i, to understand something. Waqa yaqi, the first and third root letters are huruf illa. Waqa yaqi means to protect something. Wafa yafi, to fulfill your promise and remain true to it. And waliya yali, to follow something. Waliya yali, to follow something. Or it also can refer to waliya amra al-muslimin, that he took charge of the matters of the Muslims. So this is the fourth classification of fi'l. Lots of things to memorize, but easy to memorize. Sahih, mahmuz, muda'af, salim, mu'tal, مثال, أجوف, ناقص, لفيف, مقرون, and مفروق. Easy, inshallah. When you memorize it, memorize along with it a few examples. This would add to your vocabulary, and as well as they'll make it easy for you to remember what exactly were these types: muda'af, mahmuz, salim. Okay, before we end the dars, ikhwan, I would like to shed some light on the muda'af. When are we supposed to merge the two letters in the muda'af, and when we are not supposed to merge the two letters in the muda'af? So, ya ikhwan, we have three scenarios for muda'af, in which we make the two similar letters mudgham, we merge them together. And the three scenarios are: first is wajib, second is jaiz, and third is mumtani'. So lahza, let me just write them for you. Wajib means you have to merge them together. Or let's just first write the heading. المضاعف. The first is wajib. When is it wajib, ya ikhwan? It is wajib, for example, when it is fi'l madi or fi'l mudari', or it's in the masdar. Simply put, when both are supposed to be given a haraka, then they must be merged together. And originally they were supposed to have a haraka. Like in madda, the fi'l madi, they were supposed to have a haraka. Madada, yamdudu, yaf'ulu, yamdudu, madadan, right? But what did we do? Then we merged them together because they were supposed to be given haraka. They were supposed to be given a haraka. Right. That's the first scenario in which it's wajib. Or if the first letter was actually supposed to be sakin and the second one was supposed to be given haraka, then also you will merging them would be a must. Right. The second scenario is when both are supposed to be given a haraka, or lahla, or the first one is supposed to have a sukun. The second is jaiz. Jaiz means permissible. When it is jaiz, when is it jaiz? When the first of the similar letters is supposed to have a haraka, and the second one is made sakin by some external cause, or it's caused to become sakin by some external factor, then you have two options. Then you have two options. And this is, for example, by what do we mean by an external factor or a cause? This is, for example, when it becomes majzoom. When it becomes majzoom. So, madda, let's say madda, when it becomes majzoom, how will you say it? Originally it should have been lam yam. If the fi'l is madada yamdudu, then if we just put a jazm on it, it's supposed to be lam yamdud. Now you have an option. You can say lam yamdud, and you can say lam yamudda. Lam yamudda. You have an option. Likewise, in the fi'l amr, the fi'l amr is supposed to be sakin. Now the sukoon that is coming on the fi'l at the end of the fi'l, this is a sukoon arid. it's a sukoon arid that has there is some external cause for this sukoon to have the sukoon. That is that the fi'l is supposed to be fi'l amr. Now in fi'l amr you have two options. You can either say umdud or you can say mudda. The third scenario is that it's mumtani'. Mumtani' means impossible or impermissible. Mumtani', impossible or impermissible. And that is when, ya ikhwan, مثلا when the sukoon, when the first letter, this is when the first letter is supposed to have a haraka, and the second letter has a sukoon asli. Sukoon asli is like when it is not due to some temporary factor. Sukoon arid is when you have, it's when it's a temporary sukoon. Like it is in lam yamdud, it's because it's in the jazm state. But not always is the fi'al mudari supposed to have a sukoon. So because it's in the jazm state, it's sukoon arid. And this one is sukoon asli when it is, for example, when the fi'al is attributed to noon al-niswa, then the sukoon is asli. Then you will have to say yamdudna, yamdudna, because the sukoon here is sukoon asli, it's not temporary. Sukoon arid when the sukoon is temporary. But likewise, for example, when you have in the fi'al madi, when it is attributed to the dhamir al-mutakallim or dhamir al-mukhatab, for example, you will have to say madattu. You cannot say madtu. You will have to say madattu because the sukoon here is asli. Likewise, madadna. And inshallah, we will practice all of these bi'idhnillahi ta'ala one by one. Bi'idhnillah, we'll do exercises for these and how to write the different siyagh of the fi'l for each of mahmuz, mudha'af, salim, mithal, ajwaf, naqis, lafif. And inshallah, we'll be doing that in the next dars bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. طيب نكتفي اليوم بهذا القدر وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.